I want to thank you all for having me here with you tonight. Certainly on this momentous occasion, I think it's an opportunity to focus ourselves and target our goals in such a way as to achieve an end that will produce a result that would be best for our children. I want to start by, first of all, quoting a scripture to you, Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. The Bible reads, it says, "See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, according to the traditions of men and according to the elementary principles of the world." And I submit to you that what we are experiencing in America today is a deception. And the deception is such that our children and young people have been caught up in the cult of personality to the extent that they do not recognize that the Pied Piper is leading them down a path of self-destruction. I want you to notice that the passage of Scripture begins by saying, "See to it that no one takes you captive." That sounds like to me that there's a personal obligation and responsibility on the part of every man, woman, boy, and child to make sure that they are grounded in the truth, so much and so that they can recognize the empty deception when it comes. Unfortunately, we in America have been caught up in our own personal agendas and our own personal well-being, such that we have allowed this kind of deception to infiltrate our homes and infiltrate our culture and our society. And now we must respond, we must react, or we will lose this great republic. There should be a sense of urgency among Americans as we witness this administration's effort to employ a strategy designed to undermine and change our culture into the image of Fabian socialists. Whether you know it or not, the largest caucus in the House of Representatives are the Fabian socialists. And what we are witnessing is an incremental anything goes strategy set forth by the godless imagination of Saul Alinsky. There can be no doubt that we in America are facing an ideological change, one that defies the original intent of our nation's founders. Everything our founding fathers sought to prevent in the principles enumerated in our Declaration of Independence, framed and fleshed out in our Constitution, is under attack by this administration and their cohorts in both the Democratic Party and the so-called rhino Republicans. We are experiencing with this administration, listen to me, we are experiencing with this administration a rapid-fire attempt to implement a socialistic philosophy that first seeks to dispossess and replace our Judeo-Christian heritage with a philosophy shaped in secular humanism, framed in atheistic godlessness, and birth of a Darwinist Marxism. We need to call it what it is. This administration is studied in Saul Alinsky's radical belief that seeks to replace our current form of government with one that contradicts the principles established in the Declaration of Independence. Their strategy is to manufacture rapid-fire crises in order to force change in our economy, our government, and in our way of life. Professor Richard Cloward and Professor Francis Pavin first developed this strategy in the 1960s, and both were deeply inspired by Saul Alinsky. According to David Horowitz, Cloward and Pavin's strategy of forcing political change through orchestrated crises, seeks to hasten the fall of capitalism by overloading the government bureaucracy with a flood of impossible demands, thus pushing society into a crisis and an economic collapse. We've got to understand what it is that we're facing, folks. This is a strategy. This is intentional. This is not a happenstance situation, but one that has been developed and nurtured and forced upon us. And we must wake up and we must resist. Listen to me. Since the beginning of this administration, we have witnessed crises after crises. Crises in mortgage, crises in the finance and banking, crises in the automotive industry, and crises in the credit card business. And God only knows what else will happen in the next few months. But all of it is contrived. All of it is a setup. It's designed to blow your mind. These crises are a distraction that keeps us from seeing the real agenda, which is to enlarge government and control our lives. The founding fathers saw this as tyranny, the tyranny of big government. However, may I say to you that these crises are not what we should be paying attention to at this time. There is something more sinister that's happening behind the shadows of each one of these crises. These crises are only to serve to distract the public from the more deadly transformation being forced onto this great republic. This unseen maneuvering that represents the greatest danger to our freedom is their efforts to remove the influence of our Judeo-Christian values and depossess God out of the public square and out of American history. Francis Schaeffer, in his book titled A Christian Manifesto, points out what we are experiencing at the time of his writing in 1981, and certainly what we are witnessing now is a clash, listen to me, of worldviews. A clash of worldviews. These worldviews are the Christian worldview and the human secularist worldview. The Christian worldview, which is evident in the Declaration of Independence and the framing of our government, begins with a creator, the sovereign God of the universe. The other worldview begins with an atheistic human secularism that begins with man. Commenting on these two worldviews, Schaeffer says this, quote, "These two worldviews stand as total and complete antithesis to each other in content and also in their natural results, including sociology and government, and specifically including law. It is not that these two worldviews are different only in how they understand the nature of reality and existence. They also inevitably produce totally different results." It is clear here that Francis Schaeffer says that these two worldviews are irreconcilable. They do not go together. They cannot function together. The framers of our Constitution saw the world through the faith or their faith in God. And from that point of view, rights were unalienable, given to us by God. And because the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution begins from this point of view, the laws of nature and of nature's God will consequently produce a totally different results in sociology, in government, and in the law than that of the secular point of view. And on the other hand, governance with an atheist point of view that sees reality starting from an impersonal tense, evolution, and the survival of the fittest will of consequence produce a totally different result, a godless result. Sociology, government, and the law that are sourced in Darwinist frame of reference finds its definition of reality. Listen to me. In a godless elite, I call them a power elite, who will arbitrarily determine for us what is right versus what is wrong and what we should be doing at their behest. That is tyranny. And any other name that you come up with it, it's still tyranny.